Morning, Leavenworth citizens. Welcome to my third Facebook Live Town Hall. Today we're doing it on Wednesday instead of Friday. Thought we'd shorten the time between the Facebook Live Town Halls. The approach today will be very similar to what we did during the first two town halls, and that is for me to make some opening comments, focus on pertinent and important information relevant to all of us who live in the city of Leavenworth. As during the last two town halls, I have the city manager, Mr. Paul Kramer, with me, and later on today, or this morning, during our Facebook Live Town Hall, the USD 453 Leavenworth Public Schools Superintendent, Dr. Mike Roth, has graciously accepted my invitation to come and provide an overview of what's happening within the district, about how the district is continuing to deliver education to all the students within the district, and he'll be available to answer questions. So be thinking about that, because as we get further into this town hall, I do really want to hear your questions. We had more questions the first town hall, not as many during the second town hall, but that's what this is really about. After the summary of information that I'll provide, that the city manager will supplement, I really do want to hear what your questions are, so we can, if there's any things we can improve upon as far as the city's delivery of services or enforcement of the statewide order that's now in effect with respect to staying home, and essential and non-essential business and essential and non-essential activities, that we get some insights into how we're doing, and if we need to improve some of our operations or actions or activities. Now, let me go over just very quickly the latest COVID-19 statistics from the state. This was as of yesterday, March 31st, 2020, the public update that they have on the Kansas Department of Health and Environment, KDHE. Very, very good website. Most of it, or a great deal of it right now, devoted to COVID-19, and I recommend it as a resource for those of you with internet connectivity. Total positive cases as of 10 a.m. yesterday in the state of Kansas, 428, and number of deaths, 9, and the gender in terms of those total positive cases, 219 females, 209 male, so pretty evenly split between our genders. And the age range on patients is 0 to 95 years of age, with a median age of 56, which means that there's a little baby that has it. I didn't really realize that, but I believe that that's what that means. And in terms of Leavenworth County, we are in fourth in terms of the number of positive cases within the state. Johnson County leads with 134, followed by Wyandotte with 79, Sedgwick, which is the county in which Wichita is located, 58, and then Leavenworth and Douglas County are tied with 24 positive cases. So that's the information as of yesterday, statewide, 10 a.m. As of yesterday at 3 p.m., looking at the Leavenworth County COVID-19 Health Office website, they've come up with a new way to display the information. They now have a map which places the number of cases in the city of Leavenworth, in the city of Lansing, out in the county vicinity, Alexandria, Easton, High Prairie, Kickapoo, of course, Basser in the south, Tonganoxie, and then there's a sector for Fairmount, Reno, Sherman, Stranger, and Tonganoxie. And just a reminder that the website URL is leavenworthcounty.gov/COVID. leavenworthcounty.gov /COVID. And you will, if you go there, you'll see this map. I think this is a step in the right direction in terms of at least showing, you know, where the numbers of the cases are now. They have a total of 119 cases on this map, and that consists of 25 confirmed tests that have been, you know, that have been done either through a public or a private laboratory, and then there are 94 self-reported probable cases. So 94 plus 25 equals 119 total cases that the county was showing yesterday at 3 p.m. on this map. And it's a very, very good map. I think it's a step in the, it is a step in the right direction in terms of sharing as much information as the county health office and the county commissioners and the city governments, well, can share. So I recommend that to everyone listening or participating in our Facebook town hall this morning. And I looked, when I went on the website for this daily update as far as the map, the county health officer says, to continue to aid in capturing a true representation of this pandemic, we ask for individuals to continue self-reporting to the health department. Self-reporting can be done by calling the health department at 913-250-2000, option 3, and speaking to a healthcare professional. I'd also like to share, every few days, County Commissioner Vicki Cause and I talk about just COVID-19, just to compare notes with respect to the city's approach, to respect to what the county's doing. And I talked to her yesterday and asked her what she wanted me to share with the people who would be participating in our town hall this morning. And this is what she told me. Well, I just went over the map update. That was the first thing that she wanted me to share with you. She talked about Workforce Partnership has launched a new Facebook page. It lists job openings in the KC metro area. It is called Workforce Partnership KC. If you have questions about essential versus non-essential business, because the new state order that was signed by Governor Kelly on Saturday went into effect yesterday at 12:01 a.m., does take the place of the county emergency health order that came out on the 22nd of March and took effect at the beginning of the 24th of March. But that is one thing that I meant to say about a minute or two ago, but there is a statewide order that takes the place of the emergency health order that the county put out on the 22nd of March. Now, just let me talk a little bit about Governor Kelly's order. The two orders, though, essentially have the same requirements. So, I mean, her order goes through the 19th of April, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute, because that ends a few days, or really 4 days before the county order that was in effect was expected or was scheduled to expire. Like the earlier county order, the statewide order directs people to stay home except for essential activities such as buying groceries or going to the doctor. Governor Kelly said in a news release that she instituted the statewide order to replace a patchwork approach that developed as various orders were imposed at the county level across Kansas. So those are the things that I think the general public needs to know. And that order that Kansas Department of Health and Environment, I mean, they have all the orders that have been all the pertinent documents that have been promulgated and put into effect at the state level. So if you have access to that particular website, you can read the order in its entirety. It's about 8 pages. And the big thing is that the statewide order has taken the place of the county-wide order that was issued on the 22nd of March. This one, the statewide order went into effect yesterday, the 30th of March at 12:01 a.m. And then I think I had one more one or two more things from Commissioner Cause. Ask people who are experiencing symptoms to stay at home. That's obviously just common sense and absolutely essential if we're going to deal with this and bend this curve downward so we can deal effectively and prevent the spread and mitigate the spread of COVID-19. Notify your doctor, and then to please call the Leavenworth County Health Department and I had mentioned that earlier. It's in the verbiage that's on the county health, on the county's website for the health department. I had mentioned that in terms of letting the county health department know about that information. If you do believe that you may be coming down with the virus or showing symptoms, you can self-report. And just finally, emphasizing the importance of taking care of one another, family members, friends, through, you know, all our electronic devices, and taking care of our mental health, because this is a very, obviously very serious situation. It can be stressful because it is such a new normal, and we're not used to being restricted like we are currently to deal with this spread of this virus. So I am very aware that that mental health is something that we have to take care of, and there are resources within the city and within the county that can be taken care of, that can be taken advantage of if you do need to reach out for help. There's some confusion with multiple orders, and there has been some confusion about what happens when the state order ends on April 19th. If nothing else changes, if there are no extensions, once the state order expires, the county order would resume active status until it expires on April 23rd or is extended. So that was what I was getting at before, but that's the bottom line. There also seems to be some confusion about the national order, which has been extended to April 30th. That order is a social distancing guideline and does not have the same impact on businesses and services as the state and local orders do. But the big thing is that came out from the President Trump and his administration is that really consists of guidelines, which I encourage every citizen within our city to follow, but it is a guideline and does not have the same impact on businesses and services as the state and local orders do. Top city questions. We have addressed these issues a number of times, but we understand they are important, so we will keep taking a few minutes to go over them. All city facilities will be closed until at least through April 23rd, which is the current expiration of the county order. I just mentioned that. That closure includes City Hall, the Community Center, the Municipal Service Center, the Performing Arts Center, Animal Control, although with Animal Control you can get on the phone or get on the website if you're interested in adoption and or have questions. That's the way that we're continuing to provide services with respect to our animal control facility. Also closed the recycling center, the brush site, and municipal court. Trash bags will not be available for purchase until city facilities reopen, but the Lions Club is planning to complete their bag delivery program. Currently, this is their plan to do it on May 30th, because I did see a lot of inquiries about that on Facebook over the last few days. So it's May 30th, which is about 2 months into the future, but there has been a date set for those delivery of trash bags. Information on other popular topics such as dog tags, free first Saturdays, and more can be found at leavenworthks.org community/coronavirus. That's our information, our one-stop shop for information pertaining to the COVID-19 virus and the delivery of city services and how the city is continuing to do that, but is having to adjust the way and the methods and the means in which we do that. Let me give a quick update on the library. Not too much. I got something today, an update for them on April 1st. They did put a new service in. It's called Canopy, K-A-N-O-P-Y, is now available at your public library. It's a new digital resource for all Leavenworth Public Library card holders, and there's over 30,000 movies, documentaries, and kids' favorites. So that's a little update on that new digital resource that's available through the Leavenworth Public Library. And just April 23rd is the second annual Library Giving Day, and this is an event that gives library lovers like many of our citizens within our city a chance to elevate and support our local library. The director of our public library said he and his staff are first preparing for the Leavenworth Public Library to participate in this year's campaign. And he couldn't have known at the time just how important this special day of giving would be for our library this year. But that's April 23rd for those who might be able to contribute a little bit to Library Giving Day here within Kansas, and I believe that's a national day also. I'm going to turn it over quickly to the city manager to go over a few other things that I didn't cover with respect to some of the city's top questions. Mr. Kramer?
Yeah, good morning, residents of Leavenworth. Thank you for joining us today. I will mention again, please send in your questions as you're watching along today. If you have anything, either a question you have or something that you've been wondering about or asked about by a friend, we're happy to answer those questions. Just a couple additional notes. We've talked about it a couple times. Did also want to mention the Easter egg hunt. The event is canceled. We are exploring a way to get those 10,000 eggs out to the children in the community at some point when it's appropriate, but we keep getting that question, so it's important that we get that information out. I wanted to let everybody know that the city is hiring during this process. We have all of our job listings are online at leavenworthks.org/jobs. We're hiring for police officers and firefighters. We have a need right now for solid waste collectors. I think everybody in the community appreciates the work that the men and women of the refuse department are doing right now and how critical that service is. I think sometimes we take for granted that we put our trash out and it goes away, but that doesn't just happen, and they are in the same category as emergency responders right now. They are essential functions as dictated by the state, by the federal government, so they are out there every day. There's been no disruption of trash service, so those are valuable members of our team, and currently we have some openings if you're interested. We also have an inventory parts clerk position that opens. That one I'll let you know closes this week, so if you yourself or know anybody who's interested, please get to that job as quick as you can. And then also, as the summer approaches, we have seasonal jobs for park laborers. We did increase the starting pay last year for that position, and we start up to $12 an hour depending on age for that position. So again, leavenworthks.org/jobs if you're interested working for the city of Leavenworth. I wanted to note a few other operational issues with the city. This week, you should start receiving the city's newsletter. As you see it, you will notice that there is hardly any, I think there's one small paragraph dedicated to the coronavirus. It's because of how those go out. That was compiled and sent to the printer before we really knew the magnitude of this. Additionally, you'll see information about renting the community center and renting park shelters and our programs and our Easter egg hunt. And please know that that was not a mistake, just how that stuff happens. We send that well ahead to the printer. So there's still good information in there, and hopefully information as we get back to more of a normal state that's useful for you. But I did want to note that in the newsletter. So I want to share some news related to the federal stimulus and how that's going to affect your community. The federal stimulus allocated $2 billion in community development block grants for entitlement communities. That is a federal fund, federal source that comes from the Department of Housing and Urban Development to individual communities that we then send back out into the community. And just to give you an example what we do with those funds, we send them to our third-party agencies. Last year, Catholic Charities, CASA, the Court-Appointed Special Advocates, the Leavenworth Mission, St. Vincent's Clinic, Welcome Central, the Guidance Center, and the Alliance Against Family Violence. Those all received funds from that. That $2 billion will be done in a formula and be sent out to entitlement communities. They've waived the caps. The federal government has waived the caps on the amount that we can give to our third-party agencies, the ones out there on the front lines helping people day to day. So as soon as we know how much of that $2 billion will come to the city of Leavenworth, They've also waived a lot of the public hearing requirements, a lot of the notification requirements, so that we can expedite those funds and get them out to those in need. I know those organizations do rent and utility assistance. They provide intervention for domestic violence. They provide food. They provide health care. The broad swath of services provided by those agencies, we hope to identify those funds quickly and then get them out to the community as quick as we can. And then finally, two more quick things before I turn it back to the mayor, and we have our school superintendent who is here, is today is Census Day. If you have not gone online to complete your census form, please do so. Much of the federal funding that is sent out to local governments is done so based on population. So if we don't fill out our forms, that's less federal funds that comes to the city of Leavenworth for programs like the Community Development Block Grant that, again, goes back out into our service agencies. We have gotten some messages about what do you do if you see a large group of people at the park, if you see people in a park shelter, if you see what you think is too many people on a tennis court, if you see a family allowing a child to play on playground equipment. We ask that you call our police non-emergency number, which is 682-4411. Of course, 913-682-4411. We are doing compliance checks. Our patrol officers are out doing that in the course of business, but we have 22 parks in the city. It's a large area for a small amount of officers to cover. So if you see something that looks egregious, please let us know, and we will try our best to get out there. Our city staff, our police department takes the governor's order, the county's order, the guidelines from the federal government very seriously, so we will look into these matters. We're also doing regular patrols through our city parks to gauge whether we need to increase our closures. We'd like to keep tennis courts open. We understand outdoor activity options are limited right now, and we do encourage our residents to get out and walk in our trails and enjoy our green spaces in our parks, observing the fewer than 10 in a group, the social distancing requirement. But if we have to make modifications based on activities in the community, we'll do that. Those are two things I wanted to mention. Lastly, I did want to mention that as of right now, the county transfer station is still open for recycling materials. They've indicated that they are weighing further reduced hours. They're not taking household hazardous waste or e-waste. They've reduced their hours of operation and their services, but right now you still can take your recycling there. I don't know how long that's gonna last, and I would probably urge you to check their website or call before going, because conditions right now are changing with city services day by day as they are with county services.
Thank you, Mr. Kramer. Dr. Roth, could you come up? I think this would be a good time for you to got a seat right here for you, and so you can just share some brief comments with the citizens, and then if there are any questions, we'll get them to you. Thank you for coming.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Mr. Kramer, thank you as well. I'm assuming the camera is this way.
Yes.
As we venture forward in our continuous education plan, I first want to bring the public up to speed on kind of where we're at and how the process really took place. And so early March, Mr. Miller, our county health officer, did an outstanding job bringing all the county superintendents together, and we met with not only the county superintendents but city managers, first responders, a variety of people to really discuss where we were at then. At that point in time, we were getting ready for spring break, so we knew at that time things were ramping up fairly quickly, and so we brought all of our principals together that afternoon and really had a good deep discussion on where we're at currently, what some are our possibilities, and where we're headed moving forward. And so even though they were headed out to spring break, I did challenge them and task them to kind of keep in mind a learning platform that they felt like that they could do a good job with, and to keep students engaged in learning. And one of the things that we really want to talk about in this is that we want continuous learning. And so that content within that learning model will be varied based on grade level, based on where they're at educational-wise. And so with that, soon after that, Dr. Watson, our Kansas State Department of Education Commissioner, convened all of the superintendents across the state and talked about the anticipation of schools maybe being closed longer than just a week or 2 weeks, and what that would look like. Then he put forth an effort to bring in teachers and administrators throughout the state. So there was about 40 people in that group that got together and gave guidelines for what a continuous education plan could look like. And so when we then that first week was used for deep cleaning of the buildings, and at that time we were able to bring 10 people into a small group, and that was over spring break. Naturally, we didn't do bring teachers in over spring break, but we were prepping the building for that. And from that time to actually when we could bring teachers in, the order was 10 people in a building. And so that changed that model a little bit. And so our principals got together virtually through Zoom or Google Hangout and started talking with their building leadership team about what a continuous learning plan could look like for USD 453. We spent that week working with our teaching and learning, working with admin, working with teachers on which are a part of the building leadership team, to come up with a continuous education plan that fit our need as a district, but also had some emphasis of what each building throughout the district or in each principal, what they wanted to highlight, what they wanted to continue. So each principal had a little twist to that as well. And so it really was an effort put forth by many people. It wasn't something that was just randomly selected and randomly put together to try to occupy time. Our goal is and will continue to be to create the best learning environment we can for our students for the remainder of the calendar year. And what that looks like on a platform basis, there's going to be a lot of technology used. There's going to be a lot of contact via Zoom or possibly Google Hangout or some other platform that maybe the teacher and the student have. We're trying to keep all of the securities in place to protect not only our students, but our teachers and staff as well. And so there's been a lot of change that's taken place. And people can look at change a different way. You know, you can look at it as, oh my gosh, the world's come to an end. Or you can look at this change as being a new way and a new method to possibly continue giving students some tutor opportunities and things as schools become back to normal. How can we use what we learned over this time through communication with parents and communication with students to enhance our overall abilities to reach students in different ways and different ideas? And so our teachers have been remarkable with this. Our staff has been very engaged. Our support staff has been very engaged. We're trying to keep the district as operational as possible in this. We continue to meet, I continue to meet with the Commissioner of Education daily at 12:30 as he does a Zoom across the state for all of us, keeps us up to date on anything that's changing. As soon as that happens, we try to communicate that from my office to my principals to where they can make sure that our plan is continually evolving and changing to the needs or the requirements of those recommendations. And so there's been a lot of, I know, uncertainty, and we will continue to develop this as time goes on. Our office is not open to the public, but it's open to the business hours. So if you need to come up and visit, or you need to come and share anything, you can make an appointment so we can keep the social distancing and less than 10 in a building, so we can exchange staff in and out based on those requests. Our board meetings will be virtually now, and we had our first special board meeting this past Monday. to approve our continuous learning plan and to share with the public that our office and our district, we are trying to manage and have open hours and open communication throughout the day and throughout the week. So please don't hesitate to send emails or communicate that way as well. As I said, our board meetings are now officially on Zoom. If you want to get on our website prior to the regularly scheduled meeting, a Zoom link will be posted on our website to where you can jump on and listen to and be engaged within those board meetings as much as possible. Our teachers are keeping hours to where they can communicate with students and families. Our principals are doing the same. You know, this does look a little different, but the key to success in anything that we do is that communication factor. So don't hesitate to communicate with us. We'll do our best to respond to you in a short amount of time. If you're not getting the response, please contact the central office, as we will help facilitate that to the best of our abilities. And so, as I said, we can look at difficult times as stumbling blocks, or we can look at them for stepping stones to future success. And I really believe with the effort that our staff has put forth, with the direction and guidance and the support of our school board, that we are building stair steps and those stairways to different success patterns and taking these challenges and making the most of it. And so we do continue to appreciate the opportunity to be involved with your students. We do take this very seriously, and we look forward to finishing out this school year to the best of our abilities. Those of you that have senior students, I know some of the things that you might have heard up to this point is that graduation is canceled, and that's not true. Graduation may look a lot different than what it has in the past, but we are going to do our very best to recognize our graduating seniors, to give them the opportunity to enter their next phase of their life as normal as possible, considering the circumstances. But graduation has not been canceled. We will look at doing some type of form of graduation. And so that won't be decided until we get more information as it gets closer. So a formal decision on graduation and what platform we will use most likely will not take place until toward the end of April. And that's just to gain as much information and knowledge about what we're dealing with, to continue keeping our students and our faculty as safe as possible as we deal with this time. And so with that, I just want to thank the city. I want to thank our health department, and I want to thank the citizens of this great community, because the only way that we can continue to move forward in a positive manner is together. And so we'll adhere to all of the things that our county officer is suggesting and recommending to us, and I encourage you and support you to do the same. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I will take some questions.
Are there any questions, Mr. Kramer?
Yeah, Dr. Oath, for incoming kindergarten students, kindergarten roundup, any decisions on how that's going to be handled?
Right now, we will probably start putting out some information here in the near future about what that will look like. Nothing has been determined on that, but that is a very important part of our process moving forward to each new school year. So it probably won't look like it has in the past, but we definitely want to make contact and do the things that we can virtually with students in the meantime. And so please look for more information on our website. Probably within the next couple weeks, we'll have something out on what that would look like.
Okay. We have another question. What, if any, impacts will this have on your construction projects, both your intermediate school and then the conversion of Lawson?
So right now, construction they have to adhere to different guidelines than what they have in the past. They still have to try as much social distancing as possible, but right now the trades have been able to come in and continue. We are still under the timeline of being able to take possession of our new intermediate school probably within the next 10 days, with the exception of the gym, which that was the plan all along. Our hope is that some point in time before the school year is over and the teacher contracts are completed, that we allow our new teachers into that building to be able to get acclimated to their new space and to just explore. And then as soon as the COVID-19 is defeated, which I hope it is very soon, we intend to continue the plan of doing an open house for our community to see that. And actually, if everything stays kind of the same at this point in time, they should be able to start on the Lawson renovation earlier than what was anticipated.
That's all the questions we've got.
I have a couple of easy ones. What day did the continuous learning instruction begin? Was there a specific day that it began?
So our board officially approved the plan Monday night, but it had started to be implemented with teachers and staff that day. So it will be fully implemented by the end of this week. Our advice has always been to start a little slow, to get people familiar with kind of the processes. The idea is really work this week on relationships, and you know, again, our goal is to have it be in a continuous learning model, and content within that model still will be as strong as we possibly can make it.
At the core of that continuous learning instruction is, I mean, for people who have, I know all the students have devices, or, you know, one type of electronic device or another. But so for families who have internet connectivity, is that the main way that?
So right now, our two main platforms are via some type of virtual, and then the other for families that aren't able to gain virtual connectivity. We will have a packet process as well. One of the things, and that's a great question, Mr. Mayor, is that one of the things that my tech department, who have been phenomenal in this as well, have tried to get some hotspots available. So not only are we looking at possibly positioning some of our vehicles based on feedback we get with some hotspot capabilities, either it be a school van or something that people can log on. They can come to a school parking lot, sit in their car, gain access to our internet via that. And so connectivity, we know that's going to prove to be a challenge in some areas and with some families. We recognize that. We'll do our best to work with that if they'll identify that with our tech department. They have some ideas to help that connectivity, but I guess worst case scenario, they can come to a school parking lot and gain that connectivity there.
Is there, for some who, for whatever, can't overcome that challenge of the connectivity, is there going to be a paper-based curriculum or
yes,
not?
They should have been or will be in the next day or two in contact with the building principal and their students' teachers, which I'm at this time very confident a majority of families and a majority of students have already been contacted. And so that feedback will help determine how many packets need to go out and who would have the ability to stay connected via virtual.
If parents have questions, is there first call to the principal or teacher? Or?
So with anything, it's like in any other situation through just a normal school year. If you're having an issue with the class, we always encourage that first conversation to be with the student's teacher. And if that's not to your satisfaction, naturally, then your next step would be to the building principal or an admin within that building, and then if that still doesn't satisfy, then down to the central office. And we encourage that in all situations, whether it be what we consider the normal platform of education or even in this new normal for the remainder of the school year, we would still encourage that same type of communication pattern.
My last question just has to do, and I see comments on Facebook periodically about meals for some of our students. Could you just kind of review what's happening, what adjustments have been made, if any, or what's going on there?
Right. We started last Thursday, was our first day of meal preparation and disbursement. We're doing that at David Brewer Elementary, and we're doing that at Anthony Elementary. Right now, that's been going fairly well. We are looking at expanding that to possible some remote deliveries to certain areas in the community that may have a higher population of students in that vicinity. And that we're also looking at areas where kids don't have to cross major roads. And so we are servicing the best we can at this time, but we're also looking at possibly expanding that. The kicker to that is keeping that social distancing. You know, we're preparing close to 1,200 meals a day currently. We're looking at expanding that, but you know, we still have to be, that safety point of our staff is still very important to me. And our food service department is under the direction of Cynthia Schrader. They've done a phenomenal job. I can't say enough.
Good.
I mean, it's awesome to see in times like this, people that really step up and take advantage of opportunities to help others. And I think our community, from the school community to the city community to the county community, you see that every day in many, many ways. And so it's very humbling to see some of the processes that have taken place in such a quick amount of turnaround, but also just people stepping up to the plate and doing great things.
Yes, and please pass along my appreciation to every teacher, all members of your staff, because as the board president for the school board on Fort Leavenworth, I'm aware of what's happened over the last 2 weeks, and it's really like trying to turn a battleship or an aircraft carrier on a moment's notice. And I know USD 453 is doing very, very well in terms of adapting to this new normal and keeping the standards high. And it's just a lot. I know a lot of work has taken place, and I know that as we go forward, we'll sustain what works and look to improve those things that aren't working so well.
Right. We use the term pivot quite a bit, because when we if we get dealt with a challenge, we have to pivot and see how we can solve that to the best we can. Again, I just think that the staff and the teachers and the leadership within this community have done a great job.
I do too. Well, thank them and tell them to keep up the great work. And
I appreciate the opportunity.
Any other questions for?
No, I just want to thank Dr. Roth for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
And if you need to get back to work, which you probably do, you are excused.
All right.
I'll pass. No, thanks, Dr. Roth. Appreciate it. Let me talk about economic efforts, because this is the other part of the crisis that is impacting all of us as citizens, and particularly business owners, and particularly small business owners. So this has been an area that I am trying to have the city staff and the commission get out as much information as we possibly can, but really just supplementing some of what our great organizations within our city, like Leavenworth Main Street and Leavenworth County Development Corporation, are putting out on their websites. And there is really good information at both of the websites for those organizations as a beginning for people who really want to know what's going on with respect to economic relief. And I'll talk a little bit about what the city's doing. We continue to explore, publicize, or pursue any economic development assistance programs that could help our local businesses. We mentioned a few last week, and some of that information is on the economic development webpage of the city's website. And as I mentioned, much more of that information is on Leavenworth Main Street website, which is Leavenworth Main Street, all one word, lowercase.com. We have added coronavirus emergency loans, small business guide, and checklists to the city's main economic development page on the website. And oh, by the way, our public information officer, Miss Melissa Bauer, has added a link to our economic development page on the COVID-19 information page. that we have on the city's website. So if you go first for the COVID-19 information, there will be a link. There is a link there to take you to the economic development page where we have some information, more detailed information on some of these high priority programs. That page, in terms of the economic development page, also directs businesses to contact Assistant City Manager Taylor Tedder for assistance or questions about what can help business owners during these challenging times. The guide and the checklist was prepared by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and is a great comprehensive document, clearly and concisely written. I read it yesterday and was able to do it very quickly. The way it's structured, it's the the bottom line up front, just the facts, ma'am. And so I really encourage small business owners to take a look at this particular comprehensive document. And this is the document that gives small business owners the insight and the guidelines and what they need to do to have them take advantage of the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security CARES Act, which was that $2.2 trillion bill that was passed by Congress last weekend and signed by the President last weekend. And this is the implementation guidance that is in that small business guide and checklist that I just mentioned to get started in terms of applying for that money. That CARES Act allocated $350 billion to help small businesses keep workers employed amid the pandemic and economic turndown. It's known as the Paycheck Protection Program. The initiative provides 100% federally guaranteed loans to small businesses who maintain their payroll during this emergency. Importantly, these loans may be forgiven if borrowers maintain their payrolls during the crisis or restore their payrolls afterwards. And the Trump administration soon will release more details, including the list of lenders offering loans under the program. In the meantime, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and our Leavenworth, Lansing Chamber of Commerce, I'm sure has all this information on their website, and I didn't mention them before, but that's another source for good information, has issued this guide to help small businesses and self-employed individuals prepare to file for a loan. And as any new and additional programs become available, city staff will keep monitoring and supply applicable information to the public via our website. One of the things we published, and it's a program more regionally, more locally focused. It's called the new AltCap Small Business Relief Fund. It is a partnership between the Kauffman Foundation, KC Chamber of Commerce, Kansas City Area Development Council, and the Civic Council of Greater Kansas City, and additional donors who are coming on board to allow for right now a $5 million loan fund to small businesses in the Kansas City region. The main features of this program are up to $100,000 available to small businesses, interest-free, up to 3 years to businesses. Businesses must have 20 or fewer full-time employees and have $2.5 million or less in annual revenues. And that is one of the documents that's on our economic development webpage that I mentioned. And let me think here. Oh, here it is. I just wanted to say a few other things about this particular program. The AltCap Small Business Relief Loan Fund. The intention of this fund is to provide immediate relief to local small businesses experiencing extreme economic disruption and financial strain as a result of the necessary public health measures to flatten the curve and combat the virus. So it's focused on being more attentive to this right now and in the couple of 2 to 3 weeks coming up, because what I mentioned about what's available through the CARES Act in terms of those type of loans, it's going to take a while for that documentation, for those small businesses to get those loans through that CARES Act, the $3.5 billion that was set, $350 billion that was set aside by the Congress and in the bill signed by the President. So that's what that particular program is, and we do have a good 2-page information paper on it. Priority will be given to small businesses in retail, food service, arts and entertainment, hospitality, healthcare not directly involved in the COVID-19 response, fitness, personal service, and transportation. So go onto our website, check out, and that is also one of the documents that's posted on the Leavenworth Main Street website. I think what else I have here. And then finally, we have Leavenworth Main Street has once a week Mr. Will Katz, who's the director of the Small Business Development Center at the University of Kansas. And there are a number of these small business development centers across Kansas, and his center provides valuable assistance and expertise and support to small businesses within the counties that his office serves, including Leavenworth County. And he comes once a week to Leavenworth Main Street and help existing business owners, and also helps business owners that are looking to start up new businesses. But he wrote a fantastic 4-page information paper about the CARES Act, and even some of the details that I haven't gotten into in terms of his understanding, and even more detail than that fact sheet, that information paper that I talked about. And it's on the Leavenworth Main Street website, and I urge people, small business owners, to go on there and read that. It's well written, clear, concise. Mr. Will Katz, and we do appreciate all the support that he has provided to the city over the years, and continues to step up now during this the economic crisis portion of this COVID-19. Do we have any questions from? No questions from the people who are participating. Well, I guess so. I'll start my closing comments and just say that when I do get out, which isn't very often, last week I mentioned that my wife and I had gotten out once to take a drive for about a half an hour around the city. We took our dog, Miss Lucy, and we did that again yesterday at about, I don't know, 5:15, had a good 35 or 40-minute ride around the city, and really went to show my wife some locations that she probably hasn't been to in years. We went up to the University of St. Mary, a beautiful campus, a beautiful facility within the center of our city, up on that high ground there. I saw maybe one person, maybe a student walking the campus, but it is deserted now, obviously, but it is a beautiful campus. And Sisters of Charity have been around Leavenworth since 1858, and so if you get some time, if you want a little more idyllic drive, go up there, drive through the campus for about 5 minutes, look at all the great building, the great architecture, the great fields, sports fields. And then I was thinking about it, back in the late 70s, I know that's way before a lot of people who are listening today were born, or they were smart children. There was a movie called Driving Miss Daisy. So my wife and I have said, well, we're driving Miss Lucy. And we'll continue to do that, and then go to the grocery store. I go to the commissary on Fort Leavenworth, but I know the grocery stores, Dillon's and Price Chopper, Aldi, are open, and trying to minimize the number of trips there, and I hope everyone is doing the same to minimize the exposure of ourselves to other people in the community, other surfaces out there. I think I've been pretty happy with what I've seen. Leavenworth is definitely a lot quieter now, a lot less cars on the road. I have gone, yesterday I drove past the parking lots at Walmart and at Home Depot. There are a lot of cars in there. I know that they're essential businesses, but I would just ask, try to minimize the trips to those stores. Let's keep try to keep the traffic down, just so we can flatten this curve, drastically reduce the number of cases, positive cases, drastically reduce the number of people who are unfortunately, they may not survive, and they may pass away because of this pandemic. And and if you can, and I know everyone can't, bringing children to those stores. I mean, if you have a spouse at home who could watch the children, or the children are old enough to watch themselves, I would encourage people to just go to those stores by themselves, take care of their business, and then and then get in their cars and go home. We've got to rigorously and as seriously as we can enforce and follow the guidelines and the stay-at-home order that was recently issued in the last few days by the governor to cover the entire state. And then when that expires, if that expires right now as it's planned to do on the 19th of April, the county emergency health order will then take effect again between the 19th and the 23rd of April. So I think we're doing very well, but let's just try to be as disciplined as we possibly can. It's hard, I know some people are going stir crazy, but just gotta hang in there and do our very best to minimize ourselves out in the public, and that's my message there. And don't hesitate to get in the car and take a ride around our city, and I think it's helped our mindset a little bit. My wife and I enjoyed it. It was a nice day yesterday, and so hopefully with spring weather here, it should be a nice opportunity for many of our citizens. Let me, any other question? No? Okay. So listen, just a reminder, in summation, during the COVID-19 health crisis, the overriding priority of the city commission, the city manager and city staff is to do our very best to ensure the health, safety, and welfare of all Leavenworth citizens. That's our mission, that's our overriding priority, so I just wanted to repeat that again. I've done that during the last 2 Facebook Live town halls, and I'm doing it here again. And also, you know, my thoughts and prayers go out to the county citizens who have contracted the virus, and of course their family members, and the people across our country who have contracted this virus, and particularly those who have passed away and their family members and close friends, and especially all the members of the healthcare profession, the doctors, the nurses, the respiratory therapists, the nurses' aides. They are on the front lines of this battle, of this war, really, and they are the soldiers who in a normal kinetic war, using normal weapons of war, would be our soldiers. They are our soldiers, so just keep them in your thoughts and prayers, and just whatever can be done to support them, we need to do that as citizens. So remember what our health professionals have been telling us for 2 or 3 weeks, and I've mentioned this during my 2 previous Facebook town hall events. We stayed at work for you, please stay at home for us. So let's, at the very minimum, let's fulfill that request from our healthcare professionals across the United States. I'm not sure whether we'll have the next town hall a week from today or a week from this Friday. We're going to look at the analytics, see whether we had just as many people today as we had last Friday. But whatever we decide, we'll decide in the next 24 to 48 hours, and we'll get that information out in terms of when we have our next Facebook Live town hall. But we'll continue to do these. And as I said, I had originally intended to do these, not knowing that we're going to have this crisis, this health emergency. But the timing's been good, and we'll continue to focus on COVID-19. But as we go forward, we may focus or bring up some other things about work, infrastructure projects, in particular stormwater projects that are continuing within the city. Just to let you know that those projects, those initiatives are continuing. We are having to look at our budget because we're going to have less sales taxes going forward. We know that, but we're starting to take a hard look at that. But there are things that are going to continue, and I want to share those things with you during future town halls after we get finished talking about COVID-19 essential information. And then finally, I will just say that stay safe, stay healthy, stay home, take care of one another. If you need help, reach out to the various organizations within our city, within our county, within the state that can provide you that assistance. So good morning and have a good April Fool's Day. Thank you.